So what we have for you today is the exercise demonstration called 4 exercises for healthy shoulders. These are exercises that any athlete can do to help keep their shoulders healthy. Now, my original specialty was with volleyball players. These exercises are crucial when you have the internal rotation forces that so many athletes encounter. And it also goes the same thing for baseball players who do a lot of throwing, quarterbacks, or any sport where you're doing a lot of pushing a lot of strain on the shoulders. These exercises are going to help keep your shoulders healthy and also increase performance. First exercise we're going to talk about is internal and external rotations with the band. Now, it's important to have the right technique when we're doing this, so we're going to talk about the setup and then the exercise demonstration. So we have our band here tied to a support pole. What we're going to do is we're going to take a towel or a piece of foam, put it against our side, just help us lock our elbow in. We want to make sure we're doing this exercise with the internal and external rotators of our body, not cheating and using the larger muscles. So the first exercise we're going to do is the external rotation. We're going to lock the elbow into our body and externally rotate. You notice how we want to use good posture when we're doing that. Stand up, not cheat. We don't want to turn it into a shrug. We don't want to turn it into a row. We want to use the external rotators of our body. So we need to make sure our form is strict. Now we're going to show the internal rotation. Again, step out because our internal rotators will usually be a little stronger, so we handle a little more tension on the band. Put the piece of foam, put the piece of padding next to our side, lock our elbow in. We're going to squeeze that, and we want to just rotate at the shoulder. Just a little more tension. Keep good posture, stand up straight, brace your body. We're just rotating at the shoulder. Alright, so we're going to talk about a couple of the common mistakes people do with this exercise, and they mostly have to do with just cheating the exercise, getting the larger muscle groups involved, rather than letting the smaller muscle groups that we're trying to develop with this exercise do the work. So we talk about, we do external rotation. We're here, we don't have our elbow locked in, we're not braced against the body. A lot of people, what happens is they're going to turn it into rowing out with the elbow first, and then we wind up pushing it out far. You see how I'm doing this to cheat away. My elbow is all the way out here at the body. I'm not involving the external rotators of the shoulder. Okay, we see we don't want to bring the elbow out like this. We're going to lock the elbow into the shoulder so we can rotate. We want to make sure we're not rowing pushing it away from our body. With the internal rotation, it's much the same. We don't lock the elbow into our body. We don't keep the form strict. We wind up doing this kind of like a chest fly. Now we're involving the pectorals, the larger muscles of the pectorals, rather than the smaller muscles of the shoulder that help keep the rotator cuff healthy. Make sure we're not pulling into the body and rotating across using the pectorals. We make sure we lock in. Rotate. Now we're going to demonstrate what I consider to be the most important exercise out of these 4, if I had to choose one. That's the scapular push-up. Scapular push-up is going to help us develop stabilization in the back of our shoulder and fix the posture that you often see when you see athletes doing too much internal rotation. This can be pitcher, tennis player, swimmer, volleyball player, or simply someone who benches too much without working the back half of their body. So you can see we're going to develop, we're going to show the form, the setup, and then we're going to discuss a couple different variations. So now we want to talk about the correct form for this exercise. There's a couple key factors to remember. The first is the setup. When we set up, we want to make sure our hands are directly under our shoulder blades. We don't want them to be out in front of our face, we don't want them to be back. So when we set up, hands directly under our shoulders. And then we want to talk about hip height. We don't want to sag, we don't want to be too elevated. We want to brace the core so we're straight. We want to let all the range of motion come from the shoulders. Let it down, squeeze the shoulder blades together, push up. So we're going to show a couple variations of the scapular push-up here. The first one we're going to do is we're going to elevate the feet up on a box. And this is, first of all, a little more difficult because now the loading is increased weight of your body weight. And also I found that this actually helps correct some people's form. People who have a tendency to sag their hips too much when they're doing this. A lot of times you get the feet up on the box, problem works itself out. So the form is the same. Now the last variation we're going to show is one I picked up from Bill Hartman. He calls it the push-up plus. And what it's basically going to do is a regular push-up, we're going to add the scapular protraction and retraction into it. So we're going to start in the push-up position, fully elevated. First we're going to retract and then do a full push-up, and protract at the end. And we don't have to make it that exaggerated when we do full out. What we get is a regular push-up, just emphasizing the scapular protraction and retraction. Make sure we work on that shoulder stabilization. What we're going to demonstrate now is a stretch for the shoulder called the sleeper stretch. Now we can get to the biomechanics and physiology of why we need to do this stretch, but simply put, if you're an athlete who pitches, throws a ball, or hits the ball, you need to be doing this stretch. So when we do this sleeper stretch, there's a couple things we want to keep in mind. Now you notice I have the foam roller here on the ground here. That provides the support for our head, helps keep our spine in the right alignment, helps keep our posture correct. You don't have to have that, but I recommend that, and for any other athlete, you can put your basketball, put your volleyball underneath your head. You can find a foam pad. You usually find something to put on your head, keep your posture in line. And now notice when I get into position, I don't want to have my shoulder pulled way back underneath me. I want to sit out a little bit in front, extend my hand a little bit out. Put my lower arm, keep my upper arm in 90 degrees with my body. Rotate over. Provide a little bit of pressure. You don't want to strain and stretch. If you're slamming your hand down on the ground, put a little too much stress on your shoulder. So the last exercise we're going to show here is the seated row. Now we're using the seated row in this concept to help keep our shoulders healthy, develop stabilization, develop the minor muscles in the back of our shoulder, helps keep our shoulder healthy. Now there's many different ways to do the row. What we're going to show here is we're going to use a little less weight. We're going to challenge ourselves to do the technique correctly. What we want to do with this exercise, we want to keep good posture, we're going to stand straight up, keep our spine in neutral. We don't want to make sure we're not flexing or rounding too much. We want to focus on protracting and retracting the shoulders. What that means is protracting and retracting. So the muscles that control the shoulder blade, these are the often underdeveloped muscles that help keep our shoulder healthy. Now what you want to make sure that you don't do with this exercise is increase the loading too much until you're rowing and returning into a lower back exercise. Keep the lower back neutral. Focus on letting the movement come to your shoulder blades. And also, at the top, you don't want to let it get too far away from us. And we start overly flexing the upper back. Again, keep the spine neutral. So there's our 4 exercises for today. We got the internal external rotations, we got the scat push-ups, we got the sleeper stretch, we got the cedar row. But one thing I want to point out is 3 of those 4 exercises you don't even need to be in a weight room to do. So any athlete, you get a piece of the gym, a piece of the court, a piece of the field off to the side. You can do these as part of your warm-up, part of your cool-down, before every practice, help keep your shoulders healthy. You might not have a strength coach, you might not be able to get in the weight room. These are things you can be doing on your own to stay healthy, increase your performance.